She dressed me up for Halloween, went Christmas shopping. When she'd pull me uptown for candy, she would always get the black licorice and get me the red. Just a wonderful big sister. I mean, there was 9 years between us, so she was like a second mom.
The date was November 13, 1960. Paulding, Ohio, a town of 2,300 residents.
My name is Cheryl Garza, and I am a sister of Nancy. And I was with her on November 13th, 1960.
This was beautiful back in the day. And all these beautiful lights under here. And then the sidewalk had like little sparkles in them.
You know, Cheryl and Nancy are walking home ultimately from the movie theater in downtown Paulding. They stop and have some drinks at a local restaurant a couple blocks away, and then they start the walk home, which is maybe equivalent to 4 or 5 town blocks.
So as we was walking around the corner there, she was holding my hand, and I noticed a car behind us going real slow. And I remember looking over my shoulder, and I looked back at her and I said, "Nancy, I think someone's following us."
As they're near their residence, a vehicle pulls up to them, described as a dark-colored 4-door vehicle.
Right in here, a little ways is where he started asking if we wanted to ride.
And he rolled his window down and he said, "Would you girls like a ride home?" And Nancy said, "No, thank you, we're almost there." And he just kind of creeped along with us as we walked. And he said it again, "Would you girls like a ride home?" She said, "No, thank you, we're almost there."
He ultimately parks the vehicle on the road, gets out, grabs a hold of Nancy, ultimately abducts her, throws her into the vehicle.
They were in the back seat, and then he's in here like this. And I couldn't see what he was doing, so I jumped on his back, and he just went like this and pushed me to the ground.
So when I fell back on the ground, I just realized that this is a bad man. This is not a good man. I jumped up, ran up to the neighbor's house. It was Mrs. Larson, and she would babysit for me once in a while, so I knew him well. And I knocked on the door, and I kept watching the car, and he was just fumbling around in his pockets and everything. And when she finally came to the door, he had just closed her door. But as he did, I seen her in the back seat setting up with her head laying on the back seat of the car, like she was out. She was knocked out.
And seconds later, 14-year-old Nancy Eagleson was gone. Years after the abduction, Nancy's mother, Betty, wrote a letter about her teenage daughter.
For several months, I had been begged and pleaded with for some high heels like the other girls were wearing. She knew we couldn't afford the added luxury right now, but she also knew she would get them in time to come. As usual, like all mothers do, I gave in to her pleading. On November 12, 1960, she purchased her first high heels. The next day would be Sunday, and her first chance to trip around in her clackety-clack shoes.
Sunday morning, like all Sunday mornings for the family, was spent in church.
After services, the girls had missed their ride home. They decided that it would be fun walking such a short distance. Nancy, thinking that missing her ride meant she was unlucky, she stated to a friend that it must be her unlucky day, noting that it was the 13th of the month.
The girls made it home from church, but after seeing a double feature later in the day, the world exploded for the Eagleson family. Nancy's body was found just hours after she was abducted near her home.
And I remember sitting in my dad's lap, and they just, "Mr. and Mrs. Eagleson, we're sorry to tell you, but we found your daughter, and she is dead." And my dad jumped up, and they had to restrain him, of course. But I didn't realize exactly what happened, what it all meant. And finally, they had to explain to me, I'm never going to see her again. She's gone.
The assailant, after he abducted Nancy, drove about 7 miles or so towards the city of Defiance, just about to Junction, Ohio, and pulled just off of State Route 111, maybe a quarter mile. The road State Route 111 takes a 90-degree turn. This person went straight onto what's County Road 176. And just about a quarter-mile down, there's a woods there that today many people call Nancy's Woods. And it's on the south side of the road, and ultimately that's where her body was found several hours after the abduction.
62 years, the emotion is still strong.
You know, I'd never see my sister again. It's so hard because I've, over the years, I've always blamed myself. Because I was the last one to see her, besides the man that killed her.
Betty Eagleson died in 2018. She died without answers.
She was a loyal Girl Scout, an average freshman, Cheryl's big sister. Her second mother would never roam the street again and shop at Christmas for the right present for us, her family. I miss her so.
In the days, weeks, and years ahead, investigators hunt for a killer, and somewhere along the line, all the evidence disappears.
That will always forever be one of the issues that even I, again, who wasn't alive in 1960, had nothing to do with this, will have a black eye because this evidence is missing.